Leah here from MagicByLeah.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create these beginner polymer clay scrap 2 beads. This is a great project for beginners because the results are so colorful, but they're so easy to make. For this project you'll need different colors of polymer clay scraps. These came from the No More Scrap Clay tutorial link below. You'll need some sort of cutting tool or a blade that you can use to cut the clay. You'll need a rolling pin or a pasta machine to roll out your clay, and some barbecue skewers to wrap your beads. See the description for links on where to find everything. I'm using 2 different sets of clay for this. The first is an assortment of colorful scraps, and the second is just random scraps that we're going to use for the back to stretch the patterns once we like it. Don't worry, it'll make sense in a minute. First, we're going to take our polymer clay scraps and find some colors that make sense together, colors that would look nice when they're blended. So I tend to go for the reds and the blues, and we don't want to go too crazy. So let's start with just these colors. Let's actually put in a lighter blue as well. Make sure the clay is well conditioned and then roll them into logs. The thickness of the logs don't matter, but we want them to be about the same length so that we can twist and blend them together. What you want to do is take these logs and start squeezing, rolling, and blending them together, almost like you want to mix it. What we're going for here is a marbled look where it's partially mixed, but the different colors are still visible. You can roll, bend, twist, squeeze, whatever it takes. Here's a fun secret. When you're blending colors this way, the coolest place to find the patterns are on the inside. So take a sharp blade and just cut it open to see what you have. If you like that pattern, let's go with it. If you don't, keep blending. As you can see, the colors here are absolutely beautiful, so I'm going to stop and start flattening them out. What we're trying to do is stretch the pattern that we see here, and you can use a rolling pin to do it. What you want to do now is connect them together so that you have one big sheet of this pretty pattern clay. And roll it out a little more. And if it's not a perfect sheet, just cut some pieces off, fill them in on the gaps. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, it's a scrap clay project, and half the fun with a scrap clay project is letting the clay just find its own colors, find its own patterns, and taking advantage of that. Look how beautiful that is. Now, to capitalize on this, we want to stretch this even more. And this is where our bigger scrap clay pieces come in. Try to use a color that won't look bad attached to what we have here. And if you don't like the scrap clay colors that you have, just take white. So in this case, I think this color is close enough. I'm going to use it. It's a pinkish, brownish white color. What you want to do is flatten your scrap clay so that it's not too much thicker than the pretty pattern we created. I'm going to run this through a pasta machine, but you can also do this with a rolling pin. The purpose of the next step is simply that I love to stretch colors when they're blended. But if you like it as is, just mix up a bigger batch so that you have enough to make the beads directly out of your colorful mixture. I put the colorful piece directly on the scrap and cut it out. Now what we want to do is roll this out so the whole thing becomes thinner and bigger. We then repeat the process, putting it on scrap clay and stretching it out even further. Here we have a bigger sheet, and for fun, I'm going to run it through once more. You can do this as many times as you want until you like the colors. Now that we have our beautiful clay sheet, we're ready to make the beads. I'm using a simple bamboo skewer. I think it's used for marshmallows or kebabs. Before you create the beads, you want to do a test piece with scrap clay to make sure that you like the size and shape. What we're looking for is a very long triangle type piece. And here are a couple of things you want to look for. You want to pay attention to the thickness of your piece, the length, and the width of your piece, because each of these will impact how the beads turn out. We'll make a second one approximately the same size so that if we like it, we can repeat the shape. And hey, if you mess it up peeling it apart, it doesn't matter, it's just scraps. Take your triangle from the wide base and then gently attach the base to the skewer. You don't want to squeeze too hard because you don't want to distort the shape too much with your beads. And then you just wrap it around and around and around until you're done. What I'm looking for with this test piece is the thickness. Do I like the thickness of my bead or is it too thin? I'm looking for the width and then just the general shape. If it doesn't wrap around enough, maybe you want to make it longer. Overall, I'm happy with this one, and I'll show you some other versions just so you can see what you're comparing. For this version, I made the sheet very, very, very thin, and this gave me a really thin bead compared to this one. For this version, I made it very long, so this is just going to keep wrapping and wrapping compared to the last one. I also made it slightly thinner. So as you can see, it wraps a lot more. It's a little thinner, but it still comes up thicker on the stick compared to the original bead. For the last version, I made the sheet a little thinner, but I also cut it much shorter, so it's a much more squat or fat triangle. And as you can see with a fat triangle, because it's not long enough, it doesn't continue wrapping enough compared to the other ones, and it gives you these weird gaps. So I personally like them a little bit longer like this. And then comparing the thickness, I like the one that I used for the third one, which is a drop thinner than the second one. And then with the length and size, you don't want it to be too perfect. You do want to keep playing around, but now at least we have a general idea. So I'm going to keep about the initial length, but I'm going to reduce the thickness a drop. Now we're ready to start cutting our pattern. What you can do is if you like your shape, you can actually bake it, and that way you can paste it on without it sticking. Or you can just kind of eyeball it and see what you have and start cutting pieces about that size. The first thing I like to do is to get the approximate height of the piece, or the width technically. And I like this area here. Keeping an eye on my template, I'm just going to start cutting random triangles that resemble the template close enough. And with triangles, you can go top to bottom. So notice my base is at the bottom. Now my base is at the top. Some are a little thinner, some are a little thicker. This gives you variation, which gives you uniqueness in both the pattern, the shape, the size, everything. If you come to a piece in your clay that has the scrap showing through, you can cut around that or just reject that part of the clay. So for example, this one I'll cut off because I don't like that part right there, and then I'll just keep going. That brings me to the end of this piece, and this is definitely enough to start, but I also have this piece. Now the problem here is that it's shorter than the template, so it wouldn't give me the nice size, but you don't want to throw it away because it's still gorgeous. So what you could do is just cut your template this way and then just keep going up, up, and up so that you can use the rest of your pattern for more beads. And now for the fun part. Make sure the skewer fits your oven. I use a small oven, which might not hold the whole stick, so I'll just go till about here and then break it off. As you can see, I've been using smaller pieces too. Another thing you want to consider before you start is how you're going to support your beads. A simple method is just to take a piece of scrap paper and give it some accordion plating. I think that's what it's called. And then you place it in the oven like this, with your beads just resting in there, or you can rest it like this. Another option is to build a little stand, so just take some scrap clay. Probably want bigger pieces than this. indent the skewer in there, and then just build your beads along the middle. And this way it rests nicely in the oven. And the best part is you can reuse these all the time, so it's not a waste of clay. All right, let's get beading. And here you have it. What I like most about these beads is that they look so unique and so intricate, but they're so easy to make, so they're a perfect beginner project. For a detailed list of supplies used in this project, along with answers to your specific questions, visit my website, MagicByLeah.com, or click the link in the description. I will be uploading new videos regularly, so be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. But for even more bonus tutorials, tips, and so much more, join my email newsletter by clicking the link in the description or visiting my website, MagicByLeah.com.